We've been talking all afternoon long here live outside of Oracle, where the Cavaliers trail the NBA Finals 1-0. They've got 2 days off, and now they know the rest of the way they'll be going without Kyrie Irving. Let's first get to the news portion here, DA, what we learned within the last hour. Kyrie's been dealing with left knee tendonitis and now surgery due to a fractured kneecap.
Unbelievable. The Cavaliers, it's a devastating blow for them. Even though he didn't play very much against Atlanta in the conference finals, the expectation was we'll give him a week to rest up. He'll be ready for the finals, and we'll at least get something out of Kyrie Irving in the finals. And it might be enough to help us win this series. And then he comes in and he plays pretty well, I think, for most of game one. And now you're behind square one. You're further back than you were 2 weeks ago with him. And it's devastating because LeBron James' whole point for coming here, I mean, really, the whole point was to play with Kyrie Irving first and foremost. Then they brought in Kevin Love. He wanted Kevin Love. But the first thing that got him thinking about coming back to Cleveland was, I can play with Kyrie Irving. And he hasn't played with that guy really throughout the playoffs. Unbelievable blow for the Cavaliers.
Stu, we mentioned in our media availability show that you felt not necessarily that the 43 minutes that Kyrie played in game one was too much, but you thought maybe they would play him in more bursts like we've seen with other players, not necessarily just limit his minutes.
Yeah, and at this point, the fact that we know he's out, you don't want to second guess what might have been. But and it's no time really to look back at what they did. The fortunate thing for the Cavs is they now know what they know, and they're not going to have Kyrie Irving. They've been in this situation before where they've played without him, and you've got about a day and a half to get yourself not only prepared, but your head mentally wrapped around as a team about how you're going to approach this next game. Let's not forget, they're in the midst of the finals. The objective here is to win, albeit without Kyrie Irving, but now at least they know. But my heart really goes out to Kyrie. This is a devastating blow.
Yeah, we talk about playing hurt versus playing injured. He is injured, and there was concern, could he exacerbate things by playing? He took the time off in between there in a couple games, had extra rest leading into the finals here to get prepared. Felt awesome, communicated that. I'd like to find out was there contact? Did Klay Thompson's knee make contact with his knee, which created the fracture? Was it, like he said, structurally the body is works in strange ways. One thing affects another, because there was communication that there was no concern for any further structural damage, yet this occurs. So whether he was having issues with his hip or back, and that led to his foot, and everything, it's a chain reaction. We know that, but it came up, and was fatigue involved?
We're going to get to the ramifications here for the Cavs and how they'll attempt to move along here in the finals without Kyrie Irving. But I want to follow up with what we talked about earlier this afternoon about Kyrie, who's missed about 18% of his career already due to a myriad of different injuries all over his body. And now, it just adds to it the frustration level that must be going through Kyrie Irving, as you see all the different issues, guys, that he's had just now in his 4th season in the NBA.
I would say we could probably, we're talking Kyrie Irving, but we could probably put up every NBA player at some point in their career. They'll look like this. He's a young player in our game. Yeah. So every veteran that plays past 10 years looks like this, first and foremost. It's frustrating for him because you play your best basketball at this young time in your game, and now he's faced with another injury that's putting him out not only of the finals, but now further questioning whether or not he's going to have to face these challenges his entire career. We know financially how the game has evolved. We know where it's going to go in a couple years, the type of money players are going to make, the type of shoe contracts they make. It's different from our era in our game where we sacrifice our bodies and put ourselves out there when maybe we shouldn't have. But this is a young man with still a big, bright future ahead of him, and now we see the injuries have struck a nerve again.
Yeah, and you have the Cavs organization that made a decision, and that decision was to place a large investment in Kyrie Irving, offering him a 5-year contract. But now you have to call it what it is. You have a player, a very high-level player, one of the best guards in the NBA, that is injury prone. There's no doubt about it. There's no way to get around it. At this age, at 23 years of age, to have this many injury situations has to be concerned for an organization going forward. And, but I know you deal with that later. Right now, they've got to focus on the finals.
Well, the irony is that the Warriors had the exact same thing with Steph Curry. The exact same thing. It was a guy who couldn't stay healthy. His ankles kept giving out on him. They tried every orthotic, every shoe, everything. Couldn't stay healthy. Kept spraining his ankle. They gave him a contract, which was a gamble for both sides, really. And he winds up being the MVP and now plays 82 games a year. It's amazing how one turn of fortune, one way or another, can alter the trajectory of a franchise.
Yeah, got to give a shout out to Kevin Plank and Under Armour. He got in those Under Armour shoes and it worked for him.
Well, you know, that obviously was a conscious decision made by, at the time, Larry Riley and then eventually Bob Myers, the new ownership group. How much confidence do you think the organization right now has in Kyrie Irving?
Well, look, to Rick's point, lots of guys get injuries, but some guys get injuries, they don't come back. There's some guys that come back in 4 days, and there's some guys that don't come back for 4 weeks. And that's just, it seems like Kyrie Irving is in that latter category. When he gets hurt, he's out. You know, he's not coming back in a day or two or a game or two. And so when you're talking about a guy who not only gets hurt, but gets hurt for long-term injuries, that's something that I think has to give you, if not concern, at least some pause as an organization going forward. But they're in with him now. They gave him the contract, and he's going to be here for a while, so they're going to have to figure out how to keep him healthy going forward.